Looks like we are live simultaneously. So it is Halloween season. So I figured get into the spirit of things, especially with today's topic. So welcome everybody. Give yourself a few moments to join. I'm so excited to be here and to talk to you guys today. So as you can see, I am wearing a fun wig and I think one of the things I just wanted to start off and say is that, you know, life is an interesting thing. And I think we've talked about this a lot in the fact that we live in contrast, right? And I think a lot of the times things happen in life that are very unpleasant, but they also give us, and painful, but they also give us perspective and help us define what is important in life. And I think that this is not, I think this is one of the things that is really important to me to share with you guys, and also through my own journey of really discovering what we want from our lives and what is important for us, because this is your life, for you to live, and you have your own gifts that you have to share. And really, we're here on this journey doing these inspired insights so that you can live your best life and that you can live that life that you so desire. So let's go ahead and get started into today's topic, which is trick or treat, how to trick yourself to treat yourself. And I thought this was a fun one because, and the reason why I'm wearing this wig and dressed up is because the fun thing about Halloween, I think, is that we all get to be someone who we're not. Halloween or Flushing or Carnival, you're able to take on a persona that is not usually you. And dressing up, like, there's also people who talk about, like Dale Carnegie, for example, about dressing up for success, because when you put on certain articles of clothing, then then you feel different when you do it. When you put on a certain article of clothing or you get dressed up, you can get into character, so to say. And so just like Halloween, you get into a certain character. And I thought this was really fitting because when we're creating the life that we want to live and we're discovering what we want to do with our lives, we're essentially creating a character who we want to become. And this is not in any form playing pretend, but it's becoming that person who you are destined to be and who you want to be. And we are changing every day. You don't wake up the same person that you were last night. It's just a natural part of life. So we're always constantly evolving. And when we do this exercise of discovering who we want to be and then starting to align with that person, then we can see, is that person who we want to be? I'll give you an example. Just like with Halloween, when we take on a character and we see, oh, we're not aligned with that character, that's a beautiful lesson to take with you and say, okay, this is maybe what I thought I wanted, but it's not what I want. And that's a great lesson to take with you. A few years ago, more than a few years ago, I dressed up as one of my favorite characters for Halloween, who is Ace Ventura. And it was really fun, but I will say it was an exhausting costume because I was in character all day. And that is a very high energy character. It's different. It's also not me. So if you're trying to align with something that really just doesn't align with you, you'll know it. So let's go into how you can align in the first place. So, just like starting a new habit, you're going to have to practice these things and do these things more often. So what I want you to do is ask yourself what you want to accomplish. Now, this is an exercise that I do, and I'm just going to skip ahead to one part of it, is if it was the end of your days, the end of your life, ask yourself, like, what kind of experiences would you have liked to live? Like, what would you have liked to do with your life? Because when you ask yourself this question about your experiences and the life that you wanted to live, you have to be able to align with that person. So the easiest example, the easiest example is with, like, if you wanted to become some sort of athlete, right? If you wanted to become a triathlete, well, obviously, in order for you to become a triathlete, you'd have to start swimming, biking, running. I think those are the three. And you'd have to start aligning with that person. So what's one thing that you can do in terms of like getting into character? You can get yourself running shoes. And it doesn't always need to cost money. You could start biking, you could start swimming, whatever it is, you can start using those resources to get into character and start building that muscle. Or if one of the things that you want is more free time, more personal, not necessarily free time, but also more time with the people who you love. So if you look at the exercise and you're like, I would have liked to experience X, Y, and Z with my family, but you find yourself working 80 hours a week and not having any time for your family, well, then ask yourself, who is that person that has been able to experience those things with my family? Who did I have to become to be able to live that life? And then start assuming that role. Ask yourself in those moments, create your avatar, and then ask yourself in those moments, where we do get challenged, as ask what would my highest version, or what would create a nice avatar for them? What would they do right now? And a lot of the time sometimes we really don't think that things need to be a certain way, because we don't see other things going on. But it's just like looking at a fridge full. If you basically have an empty fridge and you don't have the ability to go to the store, in that moment, you're kind of like, beforehand, you would have looked at that fridge and said, I really have nothing to eat. But in that moment where you're like, I can't go anywhere else and this is all I got, you're going to be creative and you're going to see paths that you never saw before. The same goes when you're being confronted with situations that normally you would have said, I don't know what else to do. If you start saying, okay, well, what is something that I'm not seeing here? And how can I assume that version of myself that I want to be, that character of myself that I'm living up to? What would they do? And this is a really fun exercise, because once we start really getting into that character, that person who we want to be, we all can also see, like I said earlier at the beginning of this live, we can also see, what maybe we thought that this was the version of ourselves that we wanted to be, but it really isn't. And that's okay. It's hard to know exactly what you want until you totally live it. And that's why it's so important for us to get real-time job experience in situations where it's like, say you want to practice a certain area of law, and then you practice that area of law and you're like, holy bananagrams, I do not like this. And a lot of the time, it's really not a lot of the time, it's important for us to, oftentimes it's important for us to experience things to know. I mean, some things we just know, but experience is a beautiful teacher. So really what I wanted to encourage you with this live is to really start having fun with this self-discovery process. Create your character of who you want to be, just like on Halloween, and we dress up, or Halloween, Fasching, Carnival, whatever it is, wherever you celebrate, and however you're dressing up, just like we can assume characters here and you feel different. Ask yourself, what would this version of me do? What would that person who has accomplished all the things that I want to accomplish, what would they do? And start by doing baby steps. I did this exercise with someone else the other night, and I asked them, okay, well, this version of yourself that has already accomplished this, like, what did they do to accomplish it? Because sometimes, like I said earlier, we don't see other solutions other than through our own perspective. And once you put on that other perspective, shift into that character, you can see things that you weren't able to see beforehand. So really, I'm wearing a funny wig just to exemplify that, like, when we wear different characters, or when we play different characters in our lives, we see the world through different views. We feel differently when we do things. Just like, for example, if you're working in a suit or you're working in pajamas, there are different, not saying you shouldn't work in pajamas. Like, I still feel like you can be comfortable and professional at the same time. But there is something to be said about how we clothe ourselves, like how it makes us feel and how we feel in certain things. Just like when you put on an outfit, you put on something and you just feel like a total rock star and you can take on the world. Start allowing yourself to be that rock star version of you. Allow yourself, really, because every day is not granted to us. And we really deserve to be able to utilize this gift that we've been given. So just like Neville Goddard says, you must be in order to do. So be that version of you. Allow yourself to step into that character of and that highest version of you, that person of you that is living the life that they love, and all else will follow. And it sounds easier than it sounds. A lot of these things sound easier than they actually are. And that's why we have tools and resources, therapy, a coach like me, your friends, your family, people to lean on, support groups, things like if you're struggling with substance abuse, like AA and Al-Anon, you are never alone, and you always have support when you seek it. So just know that you're always going to be supported if you seek help. And I would love to hear what you guys think about stepping into that character. And if you want to share also what characters you're being for Halloween, please feel free to do so. I'd love to hear those antidotes. So I'm sending you guys lots and lots of good vibes. I know you can be who you want to be, and you can create magic in this world, because we all have those superpowers and we all have amazing things to offer, and you deserve to be your best self. You deserve to be happy and live that happy life that you want to live. And of course, we're all going to go through upgrades, which are uncomfortable, but you can prevail. All right, guys, see you next time.